Hey, what's up guys? Joe here from Right Way. Today we're going to cover one of the most important aspects with a lot of wholesalers struggle when they begin, right? They're wondering how they find those motivated sellers. How do they get the properties that they can wholesale, right? It's one of the trickiest aspects of wholesaling. So today we're just going to kind of go over some ideas and some stuff that works for us here at Right Way. So what is one of the oldest school methods of wholesaling is driving for dollars. I'm sure you've all heard of driving for dollars. You get in your car, you go through neighborhoods, you look for overgrown grass, you look for too much mail in the mailbox, you look for bad roofs, if you can see the foundation's messed up, windows are cracked, basically any sign of dilapidation, right? So if the house is dilapidated, you know, it generally means they're not going to have the money to repair that property. Maybe they didn't have roof insurance. Maybe they're a vacant owner. So it's always good to start a database, get all those addresses down, and then there's so many different ways that you can contact that homeowner once you skip trace them, once you find out who the actual owner is on the tax roll, right? So not only can we skip trace them and find out their number and emails, we can also leave a sticker on the door as we're driving past it, or a door hanger. And if we have a good database of those addresses, we can also send them direct mail. Another kind of trick that we've learned is when you're looking at that property and you step out to put the sticker on the door and you see a neighbor in the yard, speak to that neighbor. Ask them, hey man, what's the situation with this house over here? We potentially like to purchase this house. Do you know who owns it? Do you know why it's been run down? Do you have their contact details? A lot of times you'd be surprised that neighbor knows more than you would imagine that they do know. If they don't know much information about that property, what are you going to ask them? You're going to ask them, do you know anybody else in the neighborhood that wants to sell? We're looking to buy in this area, right? So driving for dollars is kind of the old school method. You really want to tie it in with your time management. So if you're going to look at a property already, you know, why would you not drive around that neighborhood? Why would you not get, 5, 10, 15 addresses that you can potentially work on? So anytime you look at a property, make sure you drive for dollars in that neighborhood. So another form of marketing, we do a lot of it here at Right Way, which a lot of wholesalers miss over, is working directly with the realtors, right? Here in Houston, I think we have 15,000 realtors. So they're out there essentially becoming a bird dog for you, right? So if you're building a rapport and building a relationship with that realtor, then every time they come across a distressed property, they're going to send that to you for you to tell them what your number is before they send it out to their other investors or before they list that property, right? We call it in the industry a pocket listing. So make those realtor calls. Call 50, 100 realtors a day and say, hey, do you ever come across any investment properties, any fixer-uppers? We can get out there the same day and get you an offer on what we could purchase this house for. So realtors are a very key part of building up your network. So establish those relationships. Another one is just general bird dogs, right? You see people in the neighborhood or around and say, bring me a property, take a picture and send me the address, and if we end up closing on that house, we'll give you $1,000. The ultimate goal is that when you're in the office, you're having leads incoming, right, from all these different sources. It takes a little bit of time to build up that network, but once you do, you'll find the job will be much easier because now you're not always doing outbound marketing, you establish a lot of inbound marketing. So different types of bird dogs are definitely essential in having that, right? So your realtor is kind of a pseudo bird dog, but you're looking for anyone in the neighborhood who would be potentially looking at properties all the time, right? Craigslist, Facebook. How many people go on every single morning, open up Craigslist, look at the houses that they have for rent, see that they're a little bit dilapidated, skip trace that address and call that owner. Say, hey man, I see your house is available for rent. Would you be interested in selling the property? What if I could get out there today and make you a full cash offer on that house, right? So Craigslist is a great source. Facebook, look in all these community groups, neighborhood groups, ask if anyone knows of anyone looking to sell a property, or again, look at the rents on Facebook and see if you see anything that would qualify to get out there and take a look at. Okay. So these are a lot of different terms that you're going to come across when you're wholesaling. Probate. So probate is, when somebody passes away, their will has to be probated, right? So when is that a good time? to get in touch with the owner or the the executor of the estate. It's it's a good time when you're contacting kids, when you're contacting relatives of anyone who might have be set to inherit that property, right? So who can we contact for probate? We can contact an attorney. What you're going to see is very key to a lot of these elements is we work a lot with attorneys. So reach out to the attorneys and say, hey, do you ever come across any properties that need to be liquidated and need to be sold off? If you send me the address and the property and the access, we can get out there and get you an offer the same day. Right? Divorce. When a couple divorces, a lot of times what they're going to do is their number one asset is their property. So they need to sell the property to split the money. If one of them's not staying in the house after they divorce. So divorce attorneys is great. Other services that provide divorce services is going to be something that you want to get in touch with. Bankruptcy. If a person, there's not only aesthetic distress for a house, a lot of times there's also financial distress to the house. Means they got to liquidate that, they got to sell it quickly, they need the money. So obviously bankruptcy falls within that category. If you're speaking to bankruptcy attorneys or anyone applying for some kind of bankruptcy assistance, that's going to be a good one for you to contact, right? Pre-foreclosures, that's kind of a given. They're going to lose their property, they need to sell it fast. So pre-foreclosures is obviously before the bank has taken control of the house. They've been notified that their house is going to be auctioned off, right? So in a couple of the subsequent videos, we're going to go over alternative strategies to help people out in foreclosure, such as subject to. But essentially, pre-foreclosure, we're going to be working those lists, right? To find out every month of who's going to be in the following month for foreclosure. So a short sale. So a short sale is when a homeowner, they owe more than the value of their property, right? So let's say their mortgage is $80,000, but they can only sell the house for $50,000. Maybe it's tried and tested. Maybe they've listed the property on the MLS and they're getting a lot of offers for $50,000, $60,000, but they desperately need to sell the house, right? The bank doesn't necessarily want to foreclose on that house. Contrary to belief, banks do not like foreclosing. So what they're going to do is they're essentially asking the bank, can I sell it short of what is owed on the property? So if we can get an offer for $50,000, but we owe $80,000, will you write off that remaining $30,000 from that property? Okay. So dealing with banks can obviously be tricky and time consuming, but dealing with short sale agents and people who have applied for a short sale is definitely a way to get an offer in, right? Because that they are motivated to sell. They're trying to sell the house less. They're not going to walk away with anything, but they need to get out of the property. More than likely, they cannot afford the mortgage payment every month, right? Code enforcement. So code enforcement, again, pretty obvious. If the grass is overgrown, if something is wrong with the house, there's a material or aesthetic defect with the property, and they're going to get an enforcement letter and a fine levied against that property because they haven't upkept that property. So what does that mean? Generally, the house is falling into disrepair. They can't afford to have that done. So it's going to be a great time to come in and take that burden off their hands, right? A lot of these, you're just trying to find a solution for the seller and what solution is going to work. And that's going to be very imperative to how you're going to structure your offer to that seller. So attorneys is one that falls within a lot of these. Your attorneys you're going to have probate attorneys, you're going to have litigators, you're going to have divorce attorneys, bankruptcy attorneys. Again, just like your realtors, you want to have attorneys inside your network, right? Realtors, attorneys. Reach out to as many attorneys as you can every single day, every single morning. Make it part of your routine. Telling them what you do, telling them that you're an investor, you're looking to purchase a house. Do they ever come across any houses that need to be sold quickly? You can get out there and get them an offer. Okay. FSBO, what that means is for sale by owner. Maybe that owner does not want to deal with a realtor. They've heard of the high commissions. All they want to do is get their property sold. They don't want to list it on the MLS. So a lot of times you'll be driving for dollars. You'll see a sign in their yard that says for sale by owner, FSBO, give them a call for sure, especially if you're right there in the neighborhood. Find out what they want to sell the house for, look at the house, put your repair and your estimation on it, and give them an offer. Another one you'll see with the for sale by owners is the for rent signs. What does it mean if they have a for rent sign? It means that the property is vacant. It means that they're paying their taxes, they're paying insurance on the house. They're spending money to have it vacant. There's no income from that property. You're going to see a lot of tired landlords. Okay, they don't have the $20,000-$30,000 to put into that property to make it actually rentable. So if you see a for rent sign, every single time you pass one when you're in the neighborhood, give them a call. Say, hey, I know you're trying to rent this property, but I'd love to be able to make an offer for you to sell it. So don't miss those opportunities when you see an FSBO or a for rent sign in that neighborhood, right? Retirement. If somebody is retiring, they're moving out from their home. Contact retirement facilities and ask them, do you ever come across any properties or people who maybe don't have the family that can deal with it, or in touch with the family who needs to sell that property to be able to financially support them in the retirement home? As we know, those are the retirement communities are expensive places to live. And again, the number one asset is the property. A lot of these, our elderly population, when they move into these houses, that's what they have to sell. Maybe they own it free and clear. Maybe they're going to sell that property and live on the proceeds from that house. So retirement is a good one. Property managers. This is a great one because you are contacting property managers who are going to come across a lot of tired landlords. Maybe they're retired landlords, they have a bunch of properties, a whole portfolio, and they want to get rid of them, right? So if you build a relationship, again, property manager, build a relationship with those property managers that every time they have a house where a tenant jacked up the property, they left it in total ruin, they flooded the house, they poured concrete down the sink, build that relationship with the property manager to let them know that you can get out there and give their landlord an offer the same day. So it's definitely a great one to do. Other investors. You always want to be talking to other investors, other house flippers. Sometimes they close on too many properties. They're doing 2 or 3 flips. They get consumed by those. They have other houses they want to let go of. You have investors who undercook a rehab. They get into the property. They start fixing it up. Realize they don't have the funds to finish the repair, so they need to sell those property. So you definitely want to be reaching out anytime you see an investor. Whenever you're driving for dollars, same as the for sale by owner and the for rent signs, and you see a trash out, you see contractor trucks there, they're working on the house, always stop in, always give them your card, always see if the investor is there, see if they're what they're planning to do with that property, see if they're working on any other projects that you can take a look at. Always be networking. So not only contractors, when you pull over and speak to them, those contractors can also become bird dogs, right? You can tell the contractors, hey, we flip houses, we repair houses, we work with other investors. I'd love to have you as part of my group. And it would be great to do business together. Maybe you bring me a property that I want to keep, and I'm going to flip the house. Maybe you can do the work. So always be speaking to those contractors. Your UPS and FedEx. Who's always in those neighborhoods? Who knows those distressed properties? Who knows what's happening in their environment that they work in every single day? Anytime you see a UPS driver and they're walking, or a mailman, they're walking putting mail out, stop them. Give them your card. Say, hey, if you send me any pictures and the address of any distressed properties in your neighborhood and we end up closing on those houses, I'll send you $1,000. How does that sound? Right? Again, you're feeding back into having as many bird dogs as you can. You have your circle, but you also have all these different incoming leads from all your different sources, right? Doesn't happen overnight, but if you're diligent on building up your network, you're gonna love when you see it happen. You're gonna have all these different sources feeding you leads every day to look at. Then you can become a little bit picky in the ones that seem more like a deal, seem more like the seller is motivated, so that it's got a much higher likelihood of conversion. Bail bondsman. If you're ever passing a bail bondsman, stop in, give them your card. What do they take sometimes? is they take the property for collateral, right? So stop in, speak to a bondsman, say, hey, if there's any properties you need us to make an offer on to get your money back, here's my card, feel free to reach out, we can get you an offer the same day. You're basically keeping your eye open for any kind of opportunity, right? You want to, everywhere you look and everywhere you go, you want to have the vision that this could be a potential new source for incoming leads, right? Pawn shops. What do people do at pawn shops when they're bringing in their low value items to sell? It's generally because they need money, So why not speak to a pawn shop and ask them to put up some marketing material? Tell them you give them $20. Tell them $10. Buy something at the pawn shop. Ask them if you can leave a flyer or your card somewhere. You never know who's going to be in there and might pick it up. The more numbers and the more marketing you have out there, the more likelihood of somebody picking up that phone and seeing your number and giving you a call at the right time. A lot of wholesaling, or most of wholesaling, is about timing, right? You need to be in the right place at the right time. Having a bigger network and bigger feelers out there and more marketing out there is going to inevitably lead to more leads coming in. So again, when you're in a neighborhood, or if you want to download an app that says all the estate sales and garage sales is local to you, do that. Your estate sale comes along with your probate. They're selling everything from the estate to raise as much money as possible for that estate. A lot of times they're going to be one is selling the house too. Every single time I see a garage sale or an estate sale, I pull the car over, I jump out, I look around what they're selling, and then I speak to the person running that garage sale or estate sale, have my card ready, ask them if the owner is considering selling the property. You'd love to take a look at the condition of the house and be able to get an offer that evening, a full cash offer that evening. So always stop into those. This is kind of a given. Networking. Go to as many networking events as you can. You want to meet as many investors, as many title companies, as many attorneys, as many realtors as physically possible. When you go to these networking events, don't just stand there and drink a beer at the bar. Get out there and hand out as many cards as you can. Set yourself a goal when you go to these networking events. Say you are determined to hand out 50 cards that evening. Again, every single one of those cards, you don't know, what's the next person you're going to give a card to might be an invaluable resource for your team that you might do business with for the next 2 or 3 years. So that should really just open up your eyes on all the different sources of leads that are potential to get out there. Kind of as what you've seen, it's just very important to build your network and find these strategies and implement them in your day-to-day routine, right? Wholesaling and anything really is all about time management. Set yourself a daily to-do list that you're contacting the right people every single day. Make sure you speak to 50 realtors. Make sure you speak to 20 attorneys. Make sure you speak to a contractor every time you're doing driving for dollars. Make sure that you're putting down 20 addresses every day. Make sure that you're skip tracing those and reaching out to those homeowners. Stay consistent on all of these, and you're definitely going to get plenty of incoming leads.